Are you going to Wilder Ortiz too very quickly? Because I got to set this up.
I am not. Late scratch.
So one of the, I guess it's the biggest boxing fight left on the calendar, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, besides Anthony Joshua, Andy.
Oh, that's right, which is in December, but it's in Saudi Arabia. Certainly on this side of the world. Let's see. Deontay Wilder is going to put his WC belt up for grabs when he takes on Luis Ortiz for the second time. Brian Campbell, I know you already know this, but for the audience's sake, they fought a couple years ago.
March 3rd, 2018.
2018. So then let's see. Deontay had him rocked in the 5th, but then
Deontay dropped him in the 5th.
And then he got himself rocked in the 7th, and then polished him off in the 10th. All right, went back and I watched some of the highlights. He
continues like an instant classic of a heavyweight title.
It was amazing, and he was that one. Deontay Wilder was that one punch away. If Luis Ortiz had just connected, you felt like he would have been in there for the huge upset, but he didn't. And then, of course, Wilder had his way in the end. Now, since then, Wilder beat Brazil, and then Luis Ortiz has beaten three relative no-names. And by the way, I went back and watched one of them. Didn't look awesome, even though he has 2 decisions and 1 stoppage since then. Okay, so the question is, what is really on the line here? Now, we know what the deal is with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. They both had to take 2 interim fights, essentially, before reconnecting. So we know that.
Well, they didn't have to, but they
that was in the contract, apparently. But I guess they exercised that clause. All right, so they did. This is the second of the 2 for Mr. Wilder. Beyond that, though, Brian, I got to tell you how I'm coming at this, because you're somebody who's a little bit more embedded in boxing, certainly, than I am. On the one hand, I read people, and I went and I watched one of Ortiz's fights. I walked away not impressed at all. I'm like, dude, I think Deontay's going to blow through this guy the second time, right? And then you think about it, you're like, well, wait a second. Otto Wallin, who fought Tyson Fury, was not even ranked at all. That dude was handpicked. Now, I know in the end he ended up being much more competitive than they thought.
He was largely unproven rather than like Tom Schwartz, who fought Fury before. That was kind of a joke.
But he was unheralded, certainly, one way or the other. We kind of know what we're getting with Ortiz. In fact, one of the knocks against him is that he's a little bit long in the tooth, a little bit older. Maybe might still have some power, but doesn't have the speed, doesn't have the movement anymore that maybe he once did for a bigger Cuban boxer.
Oh, the power's the last thing to go. He's got the power.
He's got the power. But here's what I would say. I can't decide if this is some kind of easy setup rematch for Deontay, or what some of the other folks are saying, which is Wallin wasn't supposed to do anything and he did. And unlike Wallin, Ortiz is ranked, 6th in this division, depending on where you look? Certainly a top 10 heavyweight. So which one is it, Brian Campbell? Is this the challenge that Deontay Wilder is overestimating, or is he knows exactly what he's in for?
It's crazy. As a boxing fan, we go through these weird sort of hamster wheel machinations from when a fight is announced until fight night. And when this one was announced, because we want the Fury rematch so bad for Wilder, it was sort of like, okay, the first one was really exciting. This will be fun, but why are we doing this? And there's some unprecedented elements to this. Deontay Wilder's taking this fight 3 months before the scheduled Fury rematch in February. So forget the idea of being able to lose it all if he should lose this rematch against Ortiz. How about the idea of an injured hand, a cut, any sort of thing that comes up in play 3 months before? Yet, because Wilder's the younger fighter with the bigger weapon overall, and he's sort of rising where Ortiz is 40, we feel like we've seen the best of him. Some people try to make that argument like they do about a lot of Cuban athletes that he's really 48 or 58 or 68. You see a lot of those jokes going around. The idea is that, okay, even though that first one was fun and competitive, in the end, Wilder's the younger prime guy. In most historic rematches, the younger prime guy comes back and gets an earlier knockout. And by the way, that could be in play whether it's hell for Deontay Wilder early or he walks through him. He has that kind of one-punch power. So in the recent weeks, I've really seen sort of this, like, the boxing public going, all right, we know how this is going to happen. It'll be fun, but this will be fine. I think we got to wake up to this, okay? Luis Ortiz, heavyweights age later. He is the best combination in the entire division of top-end power and that Cuban amateur background of being able to actual box. In fact, you go back and watch the first 4.5 rounds of the first fight against Wilder, and every time Wilder threw out that jab, Ortiz had the quicker counter. The guy can box.
It was also boring. The first 5 rounds were boring.
Right, because Ortiz controlled it completely. And you can make the case, and it's not a hipster argument, that Ortiz is the second most dangerous heavyweight alive right now. Maybe not second best. You've got Fury. We don't know how good really Andy Ruiz is. You can say what you want, whether AJ was a fluke. But in terms of danger, a guy who can put his punches together and has fight-ending power in both hands, Luis Ortiz is an insane, nobody stepping stone, a tough out under any circumstance. So I think too many people looked at this matchup, sort of come to a certain conclusion, and you got to realize Deontay Wilder went through hell the first time around against Luis Ortiz. And Luke, ultimately, what was the difference in that first fight? You could say, okay, Wilder's got, legendary power, and he was able to outlast him and put him down. The power played a part, but it was the conditioning difference in the end. And Wilder's done this to many opponents, by the way. Lets them have success early. He's the fresher fighter. They fade. He gets them out of there. The difference in that fight was that Luis Ortiz kind of shot his load, if you will, although people don't like to use that statement, in round 7. Emptied the tank, thought he had him out of there, never recovered conditioning-wise. I've talked to Luis Ortiz. I hosted the PBC face-to-face on Fox, spent some time with him off camera.
Cheap plug.
And I've sort of said, look, by the way, I'm also on PBC Countdown.
I know you are.
Matchup on Fox.
I know you
check that
are.
out. And look, he said, look, conditioning was the mistake that I made the first time around. I didn't realize what I would need for 12-round championship cardio against somebody like this. I have fixed that. He's gone in, brought in the controversial Victor Conte of Snack. Went the full, he is cut up and ripped and he's ready. So if you're asking a fighter to improve in a category like power or boxing ability, in a span of a year and a half, it's probably not going to happen, right?
Right.
We're asking this guy, I know he's 40 years old, but we're asking this guy to improve on really what was the difference in that fight, cardio. He's done that. I'm not saying he's going to win because of that, but the idea that he could fix the one fatal flaw that he had in that fight, the fact that he gassed out late, and if you go back and watch round 10, when Wilder got him out of there, it wasn't so much that he hit him and he went down and was never the same. It was really the conditioning. He wore down, he got weakened, he got dropped a couple times, referee jumps in without a count at the end. I'm telling you, if this guy comes in conditioned and he's able to control the fight on his terms like he did for the first 4.5 rounds the first time around, this is as tough a night as Deontay Wilder can have. Did I think Tyson Fury beat him? 100%. Tyson Fury's a boxer, though, and not a puncher. Ortiz can do both. I'm not coming at you from the salesmanship side of raising up Fox's pay-per-view numbers. I'm saying this is as... You can say dare to be great a move for Wilder to take this fight 3 months before a defining rematch against Fury. It's also kind of reckless. You have to ask yourself, why are we doing this? Nobody wants to fight Ortiz. He's outside of Brian Jennings, he's fought one big name. Deontay Wilder, nobody wants to fight him for a reason, and now Wilder's giving him a second chance. That sets the foundation, Luke, for what should be some insane theater on Saturday night. If you're telling me I can see the future and Wilder wins by knockout, he may end up getting there no matter what. But this has the potential to be the toughest fight of his career.
What's the best outcome for boxing fans? My hunch is, and thinking about like what, and by that I mean, let's be real about it. Luis Ortiz upsetting Deontay Wilder would be an interesting note about the fight, which is to say, it'd be the same year where Joshua was upset by Ruiz, where Wallin nearly upset Tyson Fury. Certainly could have if a referee had made a different decision about the cut. And then let's say a Wilder lost. That would be this note where the boxing giants either fell or were humiliated or at least brought down to earth a little bit. And that has some interesting narrative. But honestly, the best thing for boxing fans, I feel like, is you want Deontay Wilder to not get too messed up and to win by flashing that impressive trademark Hulk smash KO power. He did it in the last fight against Dominic Brazil and Tyson Fury and Luis Ortiz. He constantly has an ability to show it. To me, if you, by hook or by crook, somehow flash that, turn that into a highlight, here's what these guys did since then, it builds some drama. Do you agree or disagree? Or do you want him to match the struggles that Tyson Fury had? So then you could say both of these guys, they really kind of played a little bit loose with it here. They ended up here together, but a lot of questions surround this matchup a second time around.
The best thing for boxing always is to have the best face the best. The best thing for Saturday night is to have an entertaining fight in which both kind of get under some duress. But yes, Deontay Wilder is the unbeaten biggest sort of rocket launching brand in the heavyweight division. If things go the way it should for the business, it would be Wilder getting an exciting win, not compromising that Fury rematch. And I think you can have that same conversation, we probably will in a few weeks, about that December 7th Joshua Ruiz rematch, because the way things work business-wise, should Andy Ruiz Jr. pull a second straight upset,
it'd be huge.
He's a PBC fighter, not a DAZN fighter, right? He was a late replacement who sort of took an opportunity and did that. He could have a chance to come back should Deontay Wilder win against Luis Ortiz and get all 4 belts for the first time in heavyweight history. We've had all 3 belt champions, but in the 4-belt era, we've never had somebody own all 4. That's what we want. We want clarity. And the fact that Tyson Fury is still lingering with the lineal guy who beat the guy crown, it's a fun time to be alive in heavyweight. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if Ortiz wins, because guess what? You get a trilogy out of it. So,
certainly
but it would certainly, once again, turn it upside down.
Now,